So now, Meg, take it away. You have something special then.
Yeah, thank you, Kathryn. I have a very special guest tonight. He is a guest upon request. This is my request for him to come. His name is Cedric, and he's a dear friend. Cedric is in high school, and a senior in high school, and a brilliant artist, incredibly creative. I've seen some of his artwork, and it's just wonderful, very gifted. And Cedric came to me several months ago and needed some support. And we have worked together over the last several months. And his appointment was the day before yesterday. It was yesterday. And his story is so extraordinary, and it's so in line with our last two calls on Sunday dealing with nutrition and raising our vibration to be able to do healing on our own and know the ins and outs of using pharmaceuticals. And just being able to see them clearly for what they can do and not do and be able to make a wise and informed choice. And Cedric has a particularly interesting story that has to do with this. And the reason this stuck out so much, besides I think he's extraordinary, and the potential for what it means to truly heal when you put your mind to it, is that he's also young and, well, probably old soul, but young as far as what we look at, and has absolutely catapulted himself into some real wellness. The same day, I had a gentleman who was 50 who came in very distressed, 3 and 4 rounds of antidepressants, and his last episode was so bad with a pharmaceutical named Prestique, Wellbutrin, Lexapro, and then Prestique, that his wife had said, "I'm leaving you because your depression is so bad." That had gotten much worse on the antidepressant. So he was coming to see me in distress to try to figure out how he can salvage his marriage as well as handle the depression he was experiencing. And these two people were in the same day, and they were so along the same lines, I just had to highlight Cedric's success. So I'm going to open up Cedric's line and let everybody hear him and say hello. Hi, Cedric.
Hey.
Hey. Thanks so much for coming on tonight.
No problem.
And Cedric, I'd like you to say hello to Kathryn. She's one of our co-hosts as well. Kathryn, this is Cedric.
Hi, Cedric. Welcome.
Hey, Kathryn.
Hi, we're delighted that you came. I want to hear your story.
Yeah. So Cedric, just give us a little background on what you were experiencing before we met and what different attempts that you had made in the pharmaceutical world and what you experienced with that, and then a little bit about when we started working together.
Well, I've been coping with depression for a number of years now, practically all my life that I can remember. And in recent years, I began attempting, with physician's aid, cycles of antidepressants. I had tried Wellbutrin as well as 2 others whose names I can't recall. They didn't really help. I suppose they made me feel kind of empty or out of it at times, or they would just exacerbate the issue. So I kind of quit those for a while prior to actually coming into the Back to Wellness program.
And Cedric, tell me a little bit about how the last one you said, we were sort of joking, but it's not a joking matter, that you actually started feeling almost suicidal.
Yes, for quite a number of years I had been suicidal, and I had almost taken my life on a number of occasions, and I don't know, it's kind of hard to talk about.
Yeah, of course. But you didn't, and I'm thrilled, to say the least. And then we started working together. And what was your experience when you started working with acupuncture and nutrition? What was your feeling about that?
Well, I was kind of hauled into it at first and really have a choice. My mother brought me along, and it was certainly something that had interested me before, because I thought the alternative medicine was, it was intriguing to see how that might work. And for the first week, it kind of sucked, to be honest. Changing the diet was pretty rough at first. Pretty quickly, I began to feel a lot better. I had more energy, and my health improved vastly, as well as my mood. I evened a lot. It's kind of difficult to think about how I really functioned prior.
Yeah. And tell them how much weight you lost.
At this point, I've lost nearly 50 pounds in the 5 months that I've been doing this.
Wow, 50 pounds.
Yes. And he came to a nutrition talk I did, and is practically taking over the family cooking for everyone's health, for the family. And he could teach a nutrition class. Just phenomenal. And Cedric is understating himself. It's just an extraordinary. And after 2 weeks, he was gone. Never cheating, never going back. His mom would say, "Oh, my God, I tried to get him to give a piece of cake just once. No, I will not." And for a high schooler, that's pretty darn amazing.
That's pretty great, yeah. So can you describe, Cedric, I know this is difficult to put into words, but you said you were feeling so bad before, and now you're feeling better. But can you give us some, like, before? Would you, like, wake up in the morning and you just couldn't stand to get out of bed, or you dreaded the day, and what's changed? How do you feel different now?
Well, I kind of had a philosophical depression. I was a bit of a nihilist, and I didn't really believe that anything was significant or mattered. I would get out of bed just because it would be easier than to, argue against it. And, well, now I just wake up in the morning and it's just easy. It's just another day, and I'm glad to meet it. And a radical change, and I don't know really how to express it apart from that.
Well, that's pretty clear. Isn't that remarkable that even your philosophy of life changed?
Well, I still meet it with a similar philosophy. However, the perspective on the philosophy has changed.
I see. Very interesting. Okay. Well, I just wanted to ask you that. And how about relationships with other people? Did it affect that? The way you get along with?
Become less introverted, and so it's a lot easier to communicate with people. I suppose just having the actual energy and reason to communicate with people it just makes all the difference.
Right.
And even within my family, I would suppose I've actually become open to them.
So you, Meg has said that you started cooking for the family. Have they had a change too? Have others in the family felt changes?
Certainly, my mother has also been eating similar to me, and she's lost a significant amount of weight. I cannot recall the amount, but it's somewhere around 15 to 20 pounds. Mm-hmm. And she was already a petite woman, so it goes to show that kind of carbs or gluten will do a lot to you, or sugars as well.
Well, congratulations for you, really, to you, for your wonderful triumph.
Thank you.
And I bet your plans, I bet your plans for the future have changed too.
Oh, certainly. I really didn't have plans for the future before. And, well, now I have some that I really want to get started.
That's great.
Yes, including taking 3 advanced placement classes in his senior year, working nonstop with homework, and just because he can. He's just brilliant, and we all see it. It's just wonderful. Cedric, thank you so much for coming on. I just love your story, and I'm glad to share it.
No problem. Thank you.
Cedric.
So do. Bye.
Okay. So long. We'll close your line now. We appreciate your contribution. So, wow, a young person who has really changed his direction. That's just wonderful, Meg. I'm so glad he came.
Yeah, it's so extraordinary when you get such a fast change that it's irrefutable what happened. Nothing else changed except this and his nutrition. Yes, acupuncture was in there, but it really was the nutrition. And it's almost like I want to draft a letter and mail it to every local practitioner around my area and try to form some type of cohesive partnership to help children who experience something like Cedric did. To get
that sounds like a great idea.
Real help. Yeah, I'm gonna work on that. So anyway, thank you for letting me bring him on. It was just a special part of my heart, and it was so relevant to what we were talking about that I wanted to share to give people hope that it really can look that fast and that extraordinary. So thank you, Kathryn.
And the part that, well, of course, I'm a psychologist, so this is what fascinates me. I mean, it's delightful, the weight loss and so on, but the fact that someone's outlook on life can change so dramatically, that is just profound. And it's not something that, I mean, yeah, people talk about how kids and sugar makes them crazy and so on, but there's so little appreciation for how absolutely completely different it is when you reverse the way you think about life from being suicidal to having great hope and taking all these courses and planning his life. I mean, that is just so dramatic. And like you said, irrefutable. Nothing else changed in his life.
5 months.
5 months.
And he was, of course, extraordinarily different, he would say, within 2. It's just been longer. So in less than 2 months, he was just himself. Beautiful, perfect himself. So, yeah.
Great.
Celebrate. Yes.
All right. Well, we have one more person with their hand up. And, folks, if you want to ask a question or come talk to us, do so. But we have Cynthia here on the line, and I think she'd like to talk with us.
Hi, Cynthia. Welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to, I didn't know I was going to speak the first time, so but what I would like to share with you is that I think the addition of Meg has been the best thing ever. And it just goes to show you, because there's a doctor here in Tucson that does the exact same thing. He cures people through diet. And he makes specific diets for specific needs. And his name is Dr. Dale Lauder. And he's really helped a lot of people. But for my own case, and I did do what he said for adrenal failure about 2 years ago. And then something happened, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm going to do it again starting next week, and I hope this time it catches, because ever since I was a young girl, I learned when I was 18 about all these things, about need, about pharmaceutical companies, blah, blah, blah. And this was way back in the late 60s. Good old Dr. Kachinka, I don't know what country he was from, but he taught me so much. And I've just known about it, that I just, so just things happened and life changed and blah, 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 and I gained a lot of weight, and here we are again, and I'm going to do it again. But I'm just really pleased that you added that we're very fortunate to be able to hear her. And, of course, Kathryn, you know so much as well, so I appreciate it. That's all. I just wanted to make a comment.
Oh, thank you, Cynthia. Well, looks like you had some inspiration from Cedric that should, encourage you to take it on again and really clean up your diet and get all completely healthy and strong.
Yeah, it's been shaking around. Those marbles have been going around my head for about the last 2 months.
Well, that's about how long we've been talking about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's, when I've done this like all my life, I'm 66, so it's just like one more time, here we go.
Well, maybe this time it'll stick like that.
Maybe it'll stick. Yeah, I think there'll be more people that are out there really doing it. It'll be easier.
Yes.
It'll be much easier, because when I was younger, it was tough to find a community,
Well, now you have all of us. And check in on the Healing for Ascension Tour group page, and you'll have 12,000 people helping you.
Oh, wow. Great.
It's really a powerful group.
Good. Okay, great. Thank you, Kathryn.
You too. Thanks. Nice to hear. Okay, we've got some feedback here, so I'm going to close the line. Okay. So we didn't give people much warning about questions tonight, but I think we'll try and do that a bit in the future, because once we get into the channelings, it's hard to come back for questions. So also, I have opened the chat room, and I don't think people can tell that somehow. But anyway, I've opened the chat room, so we'll see how that works in the future. We'll be, at least on Wednesday nights. We used to do it on Sundays, too, for the healing shows, and people would talk to each other when we're getting ready and, as we're all preparing to go to the ships. So I'm going to add that to our fun here. So if people want to communicate with one another, they can. And that's really been fun for us, too, because I know Meg and our friend Mark used to be very active on the chat room. So that was one of the ways that we met folks from Atlanta and from around the world. So we'll see if we have enough hands between us to manage the conference call, the Blog Talk studio, the chat room, and the phones. So I think we can manage this. So thank you, Meg, for bringing Cedric. We usually talk about those things on the Sunday call, but it is so much an integral part of this ascension training. and so much a part of everything we're learning that we've begun kind of weaving things together here. So it's not a separate issue, talking about nutrition and breaking away from pharmaceuticals. So we've a couple of little announcements about that. We have folks working with us now who are helping to post segments. So they've taken out the segment that is the nutrition talk and the medical part of the Sunday show, and they've separated that out. So we're going to have that on a special place in the website, and we also have it on the Facebook page. So if you want to go back and listen to the parts of the show that were just about the nutritional and medical help, last week we talked about pharmaceuticals and especially the things that affect children. And that, I don't know if it's been posted yet, but I think someone has separated that piece out and posted it on the Facebook page. So we have EJ working on that, right? Yes, thank you. Yeah. So EJ and you figured that one out, right, to get it posted. And we're also going to have transcriptions. So we're going to have every possible way of getting to the archives. So it'll be available for people who would prefer to read it or for people who'd rather listen. So we're going to have it all documented, which I am just delighted about. So thank you all for your help. Okay. Now I think we should see what Mother and Father God have to say for tonight. I haven't talked to them about it. They just said earlier that they would be coming. And we haven't talked to Mother God for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Father God is the one we know who comes to us in various presentations, but he has been known across the centuries. They were known as Sekhmet and Alcyone, and also as Ra. So we know Father God as Father God, and the one who his energy is just unmistakable and wonderful and powerful and warm. And he's been so helpful over this long period of time. It's, of course, Father God who dictated the first several hundred messages that's now called When God Pinched My Toe. So I'm always delighted when he comes back. It's great fun to talk to him, and Mother God always has some wonderful, warm, helpful suggestions for us and message for us. So I'm going to step aside and turn this back to you, Meg.
All right.
While I find out who would like to come through first.
Okay, good. Maybe
it's going to be Mother God.
Okay, good. Wonderful. Okay, we'll just let Kathryn get settled. Take a couple of deep breaths. And Mother God is always so close. Welcome, Mother God. Welcome.
Thank you, dear Meg. Oh, how nice to hear your voice. These programs you have developed are just fascinating and so helpful to people. We're delighted that you're doing this. And Cynthia was right. This is very special. And, of course, you are very special. But we're so happy the way you're weaving it into a real-life presentation. It's It's not about getting yourself in shape so that you look better in the mirror. It's really a matter of life or death. And Cedric was telling you what would have happened to him. I hate to think how this might have played out if he hadn't been nudged toward you. Of course, it was no accident that their lives crossed your path. And his mother was, of course, wanting to get help for him. So if they had continued to pursue trying to get help from the medical establishment, he might have now experienced 5 or 10 different kinds of pharmaceuticals and would still be feeling terrible. Probably worse. So what a blessing it is that we have light workers like you, my dear, who come forward and have been so generous with your time and your information. And as some of you know, our dear Meg has offered to speak with people to help them if they have questions. You can go to her Facebook page and she will talk with you and help you with these things. And it is so, so generous of you, dear. And we're so pleased at the way both of you have woven these stories and this information into the way we approach our messages to you. It all synchronizes, doesn't it? We're talking about raising your vibration, and you're giving the people the tools. It's not enough for us to just say, oh, we love you, which we do, of course. And we want you to be happy. We want you to feel calm and full of life and happy to be alive. Well, we want that for you, but for many people it's not possible to feel those things when you have been exposed to so many toxins. And I also want to thank both of you for underlining how important the nutrition and clean environment is when it comes to your psychological state. An awful lot of what people think is depression is really caused by the toxins in their food. For there are many chemicals that are put into the prepared foods that mimic neurotransmitters in your brain. It's not an accident. It's not just because when you eat something that isn't good for you, it makes you feel funny. That's not the problem. The problem is the chemicals between pesticides, which are blockers in a lot of ways. They create havoc in your neurological system, aside from creating cancers and so on. But the first effect is to monkey with your nervous system. And now, of course, you're finding out that diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's are very much linked to the toxins in your diet and in your environment. And so it's not an accident that there are so many people who are overwhelmed with depression and anxiety. It is not a psychological problem, strictly. The origins come from several places. Yes, in some cases they come from having had a difficult time in childhood, but so many people have a difficult time. School is difficult for children. Making friends is difficult. The studies, the way their studies are presented, Life is not easy for young people, but it should not be complicated to the extent where our young children are devastated and overcome with dark feelings of hopelessness and despair. It is not a necessary way of life. It should not be. And all it takes, as you see here, all it takes is the right education. Up until now, no one really appreciated, or very few, really appreciated just how destructive and devastating the things that are being served, that are called food, which really are not food. They're not food at all. They're poison. Just how devastating they really are to the human body and the human mind. And you, beloved ones, are inhabiting this beautiful structure. The human body is so complex, so intricate, so sensitive. You were designed that way on purpose. It's a wonderful thing to be intricate and sensitive. It makes you what you are. It means you're capable of great creativity, great knowledge, and wisdom. Without your sensitivity, you cannot gain wisdom. You can fill your mind full of facts and interesting kinds of information. You can memorize all kinds of things, but you will not gain wisdom without sensitivity, without the ability to feel empathy for your fellow humans and the animals and the plants around you, and for your dear Mother Terra. You are made to be bright, clear. Let's give you some other names for that sensitivity. Your ability to receive information is very profound. Your ears are acute, your vision, and your intuition. Now, when you fill your body full of things that create havoc in your neurological transmitters, how can you pay attention to anything? You can't see, you can't hear, you can't think, you can't feel the things that you would feel if you were at peace. And so think of it this way. Think about your body and its delicate balance. When you put things into your body that have sugar in them, for instance, it creates immediately a war within your body where your body is forced to take up a defensive stance to try to defend itself against the onslaught of the chemicals that come pouring in. And it's not really an accident, you know, that the things that are made in packages have lots of sugar, and often they're the worst offenders when it comes to pesticides and other toxic chemicals. Much of your food contains hormones or chemicals that mimic the hormones in your body. And of course, there are many hormones in your body that help to create the balance. So how can you be expected to think straight, feel clear, and be happy if your body is at war? And if your body, as you get older, begins to lose some of the battles, that's what is then expressed as symptoms. You start to get sick. You start to have cancer and heart disease and all the thousands of descriptions of medical problems. Doctors are very bright people. For every new symptom, they manage to come up with a Latin description. It delights them to have a name for something so that then they can prescribe a drug for it. That's why the system arose, you know. You have to be able to call it by a name. And if you can give it a name, then the idea is that you must know how to cure it. And then the drug companies, hand in glove, come up with fancy names for their drugs, and they link them to the fancy names for the symptoms that the doctors have discovered. And there you have the downward spiral into disease, greater complications. And the worst of it is how it makes you feel. When you're told by your doctor that you have an illness and it probably will last a very long time, and you probably will have to take this particular drug for the rest of your life, truly depressing. It is truly discouraging. Is it any wonder that as people age and become a little older, that they are weighted down with all these proclamations from their doctors about how decrepit they are and how unable they are to heal? It's simply assumed that if you're over about 50 years old, that you will be sick, and you will be sick from now on. Well, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? A body can heal no matter what the age. There is no disease that cannot be overtaken by a good immune system. So don't listen to that, beloved ones. It was a bit of a conspiracy, wasn't it, on the part of the drug companies and those who wanted to create a scare and make people feel insecure. Well, it's ridiculous. You should be living to be about 120 or so. And you should be able to live the first 119 and a half years of it being very strong and sturdy and full of life, breathing the fresh air, walking around your block, greeting your friends, doting on the children, and working at whatever you choose for as long as you like. This is what you're made for. Human bodies are very sturdy, very strong. So, given how strong and sturdy your human body is, imagine what it takes to defeat it. You have been in the business of trying to defeat your bodies, even though you didn't realize it. Of course, it's not your fault. You also were designed to be attracted to things that are sweet, because if you ate the berries that were sour, the human race wouldn't have lasted. So there is that attraction to things that are sweet, but you're smart enough to know the difference. You certainly are smart enough to know whether the thing that tastes delicious comes on a stem or whether it is in a box. Well, from now on, dear ones, forego the things that come in boxes. Don't even walk down those aisles. You know, your supermarkets are set up very nicely. You could create a very good diet by only walking around the outside of your grocery store and never entering any of those center aisles. You don't need those things anyway. So it's lovely that you're turning over a new leaf, a lot of you. It will bring you great happiness and pleasure. It's not like taking your medicine. It's not giving up anything. It means you're going to develop a taste for the wonderful things that your planet has to offer you. The delicious fruits, the wonderful vegetables. And when you develop your taste for organic foods, yes, you're going to love them because they're so much tastier. They're so much better for you, and they give you so much energy. As Cedric told you, it makes all the difference in the world. And so, I'm here to give my stamp of approval for this approach of seeing your bodies as the precious, precious vessels that you have been given for this unique and very special lifetime. What a time it is. You can feel it happening, can't you? The energies from the central sun come in great waves, great crashing waves sometimes. If you're not prepared for it, you might think you just got hit by a tsunami. Well, it is kind of like that, isn't it? But it is so that you can enjoy the shift that is happening to everyone. You are being lifted, dear ones. And there is a link. This is why I wanted to talk with you about the issues of nutrition and feeling good and feeling healthy. To be fit, physical feeling, to be 50 pounds heavier than your body is comfortable with. It just doesn't feel good. It doesn't matter whether other people like it or not. It doesn't matter whether you think you look good in the mirror. That's not the point. The point is your body doesn't like it. And so don't do things to your body that it doesn't like. That's pretty simple, isn't it? Well, that is a very important part of what you've been learning. Moving toward ascension. How can you raise your vibration to ascend if you're doing things to your body that are cruel? Or at least unfriendly. If your body is unhappy, how can you be happy? You are all of a piece, you know. You are one organism. Your mind, your body, your heart, your spirit, all are completely connected. It is fruitless to try to separate them, to think you can go off in your mind and imagine and not be affected by what your body is feeling. That is not the route that we encourage. You're going to lift yourselves. So, lift your bodies first. And then you will find your burden to be far lighter. When you embrace this beautiful equipment that you've been given, spend at least as much time admiring, polishing, approving of, and embracing your beautiful body as you would spend if you had a new Ferrari in your driveway. You would. Oh, yes, you've seen when young men walk by a beautiful car. They pat it, don't they? They look lovingly at it. Well, this is how we want you to look upon your body. And remember, no excuses. Oh, well, I don't like my body because it's too fat. Well, ridiculous. How did it get that way? It got that way because you weren't loving it enough. So love is where it starts. Love your body. Love it back into health, happiness. For you will be needing that beautiful body of yours. You will be needing the happiness and the high vibration and the joy that you feel when you wake up in the morning and you feel energetic and ready to face the day. Better yet, facing the day sounds as if it's sort of an enemy, doesn't it? How about embracing the day? That's even better. For there are exciting, wonderful things ahead of you. As you raise your vibration, oh yes, you've been told about the RV. Oh, we are on the verge of wonderful things. For it's not just about that. All of this, well, you think it's chaos and havoc happening on the planet. Yes, there are some dark spots and some great unpleasantness. But it is, the whole world is looking. The whole world is hanging on the information to see who are these people that are doing such horrific things. Well, let me tell you, there is going to be a great deal of interest and a great deal of investigation to find out just who these people are and just why they're behaving the way they do. And when this investigation comes to its completion, there will be revelations that are going to shock the world. These are not just people who are rabid about their religion. Oh, no. These are not people who simply hate. Oh, no. It has been a creation, a deliberate creation of the dark ones who want to convince you that the world is going crazy and that the world is a terribly dangerous place. You see that happening, don't you? The exaggerations and the fear tactics. Oh, no, they're these terrible, terrible people. Well, do you know how many there actually are? The ones who are murderers. Do you know how well trained they are? And do you also know how much they're being paid? This is not anything like a revolution. It is not a movement of people on the ground. Nothing of the kind. This is not what the people want. This is not what the people in the area where they're operating want. They are a small band of thugs, and they will be stopped. It is unfortunate, but they are people who have been brainwashed and have been trained to do what they are doing. They are assassins, nothing more. They have no principle except to be very efficient and very good at what they do. And they take pride in that. That is all they have. For they have no connection to their hearts. They have been terribly damaged. This is not the people. It is not anything but a gang of thugs who've been trained and highly paid. And when the investigations prove successful and uncover what needs to be uncovered, you will see. All the investigation, all the evidence will point to the Cabal, which is desperate because they're losing their grip. And they had to create something completely horrific to try to make it look as if they have some power. And yes, they scared a lot of people. But there's always this echo when someone says, "Oh, we have to beef up our defense because there are these terrible people and they're proliferating all over the Middle East." Well, first of all, they're not. There are many who are coming forward to say, "I want nothing to do with this." And we're going to join together to squeeze them out. The backlash that it is creating is going to be very successful at helping those countries who were reluctant to join together. So, ironically, as horrific as it is, as tragic as it is that such wonderful people have been so brutally murdered, it has served a very important and very dramatic purpose. It is waking people up. It is bringing people forward to say, "I cannot stand it. I will not tolerate this. We cannot have this in our world, anywhere. Not ever again. We cannot have this." Do you know how many wars there have been in the last 100 years where these atrocities occurred? Every one. Every year. There have been these same kinds of atrocities on your planet going back for thousands of years now. And this is the first time that there has been a global outcry. The first time that people have truly come forward and said, "We cannot stand it." Because we are awake. Because we feel for those people. They are our brothers and sisters. We cannot tolerate murder. Dear children, this has not happened on planet Earth for millions thousands of years. And so, yes, it is tragic that these things are happening, but it is a triumph of the light that the response to it is so complete, is so international. There is tremendous solidarity evolving on your planet. Look around you. Look how people are beginning to speak differently of these things. When they, maybe they curse a bit, maybe they appear angry when they talk about it. But never before has there been such a level of intolerance for this kind of inhumanity. You are awakening. You are learning that you have real power. You're learning that together you can put a stop to this. Yes, there are some defeats at times. There are, you have to try 5 times to get the law passed that will bring justice. But you're not giving up at the first sign of a threat. You are growing in your courage, in your compassion, and in your strength. It is a wonderful thing to see. And you have no idea what this is going to bring. It is very difficult to even imagine how this rising energy, this new flood of love and compassion, it's difficult to even predict how this will change every life, every person on the planet will be touched. Everyone's life will be made easier because of this great awakening. You are headed for glory, and it delights us to watch you. You are blossoming, you're growing, and you are living out the destiny that you came here to experience. I can only say to you, beloved ones, that I look upon you and my heart fills with joy. You're reaching out, groups of those who come together to listen to these calls and read our messages and talk about these things with one another and begin to discuss it with their families and their friends. You're becoming much more bold, and when you speak out, many of you have been surprised, haven't you, that you didn't get the reaction you used to get. Maybe you'd get enthusiastic agreement or approval, but sometimes you get curiosity. And that is a turn in the right direction. Be very daring. Don't hold back. You have hearts that are sturdy, or you wouldn't be here. You are the adventurers and the explorers and the seekers. You're the poets and the artists and the writers and the lovers. You are the ones who will lead the way. It cannot be done without you. Do you see that? you see that the people who used to mock you, or who made fun of your connection to God, or your talk about spiritual things, or your belief in galactic brothers and sisters, you realize, don't you, you were far ahead of them. That they just were still rubbing their eyes and beginning to stretch and had no idea about the things that you understand so easily. That's all it is. Why would you be afraid of someone who knows so little? Why would you think that you are inferior because you're wiser? It's been backward, hasn't it? Everything about the lives you've lived has been upside down and backwards. But you're changing that. Right side up and forward from now on. And we will be here to cheer you on, to send you our blasts of love, and to chuckle with you, to smile upon you, as I do now. I send you my heart full of love. Let me embrace you. Let me dote upon you, for it is my pleasure to do so. I'm delighted to have come here to talk with you today. I will wish you farewell now and allow my beloved Ra to come and speak with you. Alcyon, we said tonight. We've been known by many different names, but we're always the same. You know my energy by now, don't you? You can tell when I'm speaking to you. Call on me anytime, and I will come to you. You'll feel my energy around you. I will touch your cheek. I will place my hand lightly on your shoulder, and you will feel the love that I send to you now. And now I will pass the talking stick to my beloved and let him come to speak with you as well. I took the liberty to express a lot of what we've been talking about together, but I'm sure there are things he'd like to add. I'm right here. All right, now I will say so long to all of you, beloved ones, and namaste.